Well, the reports coming out of Mariupol, Francois, are conflicting, to say the least, at the moment. The report that you were referring to appeared on Facebook, coming from the commander of the 36th Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Marines, and he was saying, just like you have pointed out, that things are desperate in the city. No doubt at all that things are desperate. He's saying that there's a mountain of wounded, that half the brigade are out of action now, that those who haven't lost a limb are having to continue on fighting whether they're wounded or not, that the members of the brigade orchestra are joining the fight, that the cooks have joined the fight, that it's hand-to-hand fighting in some places. But the deputy mayor of the city put out a response to that not very long ago, saying it's not true, that this is effectively fake news, that the situation, although desperate, isn't quite as bad as that yet. And I attended a press conference this afternoon by the press spokesman for the Ministry of Defence, and he said that although things were desperate, the struggle to hold on to the city, now in its 47th day, was still continuing. But all that said, there is no doubt that the end must be getting closer because, as you pointed out, the ammunition is beginning to run out quite fast. There is no way that the Ukrainian armed forces can supply those inside the city at the moment. They're completely encircled. The situation is desperate, but they're trying to make sure that if the Russians do take it, that they will have to pay a heavy price for it.
Yeah, and we're not hearing the sound of gunfire behind you anymore in Kyiv. Ukrainians bracing, though, for a big fight in the east.
Absolutely. That is the message that President Zelensky and others have been conveying to the Ukrainian people, to prepare, to brace themselves. What will be a big battle in the eastern part of the country, in the Donbass. That's potentially what is going to decide the future of this war between Ukraine and Russia. The Ukrainians have given the Russians a bloody nose in the north of the country. The Russians were forced to withdraw. They lost substantial numbers, according to the Ukrainians, as many as 20,000 men so far. Whether or not it's that high, it's clear that the losses are substantial, particularly in armoured vehicles, aircraft, including helicopters and fighter jets. And to reorganise after a mauling like that is not easy. Morale is low. The Russians are having to bring in reserves, having to bring up equipment which they hadn't intended to do. So the logistics are difficult for the Russians. The Ukrainians are well dug in, some of their best forces in the east of the country. And speaking today to the press spokesperson, I asked him a question about whether the Ukrainians were prepared, whether they were worried that they might be encircled and trapped by the Russians. He said there is always that risk. But, you know, the Ukrainians have planned this out very well. They're ready for the Russians, and they feel confident that they can repulse them.
Rob, what about where you are in the capital, Kyiv? I know there are those who never left, but is there the sense that more people are returning?
Undoubtedly, Francois, people are coming back. It's not like it was, 6 weeks ago, when the city was full. There may be a couple of million people in the city at the moment, maybe a bit less than that. Restaurants are certainly opening more now, although everything has to be closed by 6 o'clock. The shops are opening, probably about a third of the shops in the city are open again now. And the last time I was here about 3 weeks ago, they were all shut. So you do get a sense that life is returning to the city, that people are getting more confident, that they feel that they can continue their lives pretty much as they were before, if not quite in the same way. You still get the occasional air raid siren, but the reality is that the Russians are quite some distance off at the moment. They can fire rockets, missiles into Kyiv, but there's no threat to the city itself. This city centre feels pretty secure.
Robert Parsons reporting live.